Hey everybody, it's Friday morning, and I hope you're in for a great day and an even better weekend. Trust that you find yourself a place to worship. It's a vital priority for us to be in fellowship with one another, so I hope you find that. Guys, we're talking into the book of 1 Samuel at the moment, and we're looking at the various tests that God takes people through. And we started in Genesis, we're now in the book of 1 Samuel, and we're getting a picture of the fact that God is a God who tests his creation. He's allowed to do that because he is God, and God is allowed to do what he likes to do. Sometimes we perceive it to be a little bit unfair, but at the end of the day, a test is there simply to be passed, because most of the tests that we're looking at are simply tests of character, and we all know that character is never born out of comfort. It generally comes by way of some of the tests of life. Book of 1 Samuel, we have an interesting test in chapter 2. I urge you to go and read it. What happened was that Eli's two sons, Eli was the high priest. He had two sons, Hophni and Phinehas. According to the Old Testament law, the prophets, or the priests, were entitled to take a portion of the meat offerings that were brought to the temple to be sacrificed. And they had a particular way of doing it that God had ordained, that when the meat would be put into the pot and would be boiling, the priest could come along with his fork and he could dip it in, and the meat that came out at the end of the fork was destined for him and for his consumption. But these two priests, they got a bit smart, and they got a little bit familiar, which is what we're talking about today, the test of familiarity. They got familiar with us. And they said to the people, no. Before you guys put that offering in the pot of water and boil it, we want to check it out first, and we want to be able to select which pieces we want. And some of the people warned them and said, this is not a good idea. This is not what God has said. But these two men, because they had a little bit of religious power, they threatened the people and said, we're going to do what we want. If you don't do what we say, watch out. And so they continued to do it. God saw this and was very displeased, and he prophesied that both Hophni and Phinehas would die on the same day, which we later read that they did. Now the test here is the test of familiarity. I need to just throw out there a warning on this particular Friday morning for you to think, remember, amidst all the beauty of who God is, he's great, he's kind, he's loving, he's gentle, he's compassionate, he's understanding, he's the God of the second chance. I need to warn you, he's also the God of holiness. He's also a God who's totally righteous. He's also a God who cannot look upon sin because he hates sin that much. He loves us, but he hates the sin. And we have a God who is holy. That means you don't want to mess with him. Just read through the scriptures and you see the number of times that people tried to touch the glory of God, tried to take the glory of God for themselves, and went against God simply because they became familiar with him. My old dad used to say, familiarity breeds contempt. He used to remind us that continually as kids. Well, let's take that simple lesson and let's apply that into the context of God and of our faith today. I take nothing away from the fact that God wants to be a friend. We speak about that, and it's indeed glorious. But never forget, he's holy, he's righteous, and you don't want to play games with a holy and a righteous God. I'm just reminded of that verse that says that our God is a consuming fire. That means that you get too hot to him and you're going to get burned, baby. And we need to understand that God is God. I often say to people in church, and maybe you will remember it, if Jesus were to walk into our church service on a Sunday morning, let me tell you what we would not be doing. We would not be high-fiving, saying, hey, bro, how are you doing? We wouldn't be doing that. We wouldn't be saying, hey, Jesus, so cool that you're here. Come on in and make yourself at home. We wouldn't be doing that. Let me tell you what we will be doing. If Jesus were to walk into a church service on a Sunday morning, we would all be flat on the floor. We would not be able to lift our heads off the ground because he is glorious in his holiness. He's glorious in his righteousness. Never, ever forget that. I guess it's the paradox of who God is, and we need to find that both extremes are incredibly true, but never forget this one. Go and have a great day. Hope to see you on Sunday, And thank you so much for joining us in our early morning devotions. Really appreciate that. And God bless you. Have a great day. Bye now.